Hello? Is this working? Is this thing on? Hey guys. It said it wasn't working and now I guess it is working. Let me make sure we're on for Instagram. Hello, Instagram. Welcome back to another live video. If you're watching the replay, hello. Tell me in the comments, where are you watching from? Anybody who's watching, let me know in the comments. I'm wondering if it's actually working on Facebook, because I actually might have done something bad and I just changed my page name, but it looks like it's working. I just officially changed it to How to Stop Binge Eating Forever, which is the new page name, by the way. All right, so today we're going to be talking about stress snacking, craving, stuff like that. I don't have a lot of people in here yet. That's okay. Well, oh, hey, Elaine, you're in a hospital in Richmond, Virginia. Are you okay? What's going on with you? I mean, you don't have to share your business if you don't want to, but Kathleen, hello from New Jersey. I hope you're doing okay, Elaine. And where's everyone else watching from? Let me know. Comments. So we're going to talk about snacking, stress snacking, stuff like that. If y'all have any questions about that specifically, let me know in the comment section. You can type anywhere, whether you're watching this on YouTube or Facebook. If you have any specific questions, let me know and I will be sure to answer those. I'll just be here for a little bit today to tell you a little bit about how to deal with stress snacking. Hey, CE, you're here from Chesapeake, Virginia. So happy you're here. I wish I could put the Instagram comments up on the screen, but technically that's not possible. But it's good to see you guys on Instagram as well. So some changes that are happening. I've been kind of talking about this a little bit lately. I have officially changed my brand, if you will, I've been going through a lot of changes this last year, but I think I finally nailed it down. We're going to be called howtostopbingeeatingforever.com. The website, we're getting that'll be going in a week or two. I am currently recording the podcasts. I have 2 done already. I'm going to do another one today and edit those up. And let me know where you're watching from if you're just joining me. So I'm going to be editing those. I'm going to try to launch the podcast on the 20th. So I want to have 2 or 3 episodes ready to go when I first launch. I'm going to do the same schedule same publishing schedule I used to do when I was doing YouTube, which is every Thursday. And then there will be 1 new podcast every Thursday. So we'll be talking specifically about how to stop binge eating. Okay, so Elaine says, I was admitted yesterday. I thought I had allergies, but I realized yesterday it might be more serious. Okay, I have pneumonia, but I'm better and will be discharged tomorrow. I'm not infectious. Oh, that's good. I had my fun with pneumonia last year as well. It is tough, but I'm really glad you must be on the antibiotics now and starting to get better. So that's good news. Thanks for letting us know. Where else is everyone else watching me from? Let me know. So we've officially changed the name to How to Stop Binge Eating Forever. That's going to be on the docket. But when I say binge eating, I mean all of the things, any kind of overeating, emotional eating, compulsive eating, and then binge eating as well, food hoarding, these types of behaviors. That's the stuff I'm going to knock out for you guys. So if you have any interest in that, actually, if you can let me know down in the comments, what do you think about that? Does that feel like it applies to you at all? Where are you at in your food journey right now? Today, we're specifically talking about stress snacking and just kind of like general Q&A on healthy eating or ending overeating or anything like that. So if you have any questions, feel free to put them let me just turn my phone off, in the comment section, and I'll make sure to answer those. So, okay, stress snacking. Why do we stress snack? It's in the answer's in the name, stress, right? And then how do we stop? That's really what we're going to be talking about today. So I didn't actually make a presentation, but I might hook this up if I want to put some notes down to show some visuals for you guys. So stress snacking. First of all, let me know if y'all have any questions. Put them right in the comments there. I'm going to be, so this is the new brand, How to Stop Binge Eating Forever. It's going to be a podcast and a YouTube video every week. So you'll be able to listen to it wherever you listen to podcasts. And then if you want to see actually me, doing the actual recording, it's going to be like this, as well as I'm going to have my notes. So whenever I'm doing a new podcast, I put some notes on here, and then I actually like read. I put this up on the screen here so that as I'm recording the podcast, you can see the notes that I was running from. But it doesn't, I mean, you don't have to watch the YouTube if you don't want to. It's just going to be another place where we talk about that. Okay. So let's talk a little bit about why. Okay. Hey, Jess, I'm so happy to see you, my dear. Watching from Connecticut. I always love seeing you. Thanks for coming on and supporting me. And CE says, this definitely applies to me as I just binged on sugar. I desperately want to overcome this. I'm a 49-year-old woman, and I feel like I will never overcome my binging on sugar. I'm with you. I hear you. And you are my perfect, audience member here, because this is exactly where I was and what I fixed and what I fix for other people now. Can you imagine a time where you could actually be peaceful about sugar? So we had a coaching call yesterday, and a client has been working on this with me for about 6-7 months. And just yesterday, we were doing some little challenges, and she's been working really hard. And she came on the call and said, for the first time ever, she's in her mid-30s, I believe. For the first time ever, she had a package of sourdough bread and some chocolate-covered espresso beans on top of the fridge. And for the first time ever, she felt completely peaceful walking by them. They were not a big deal, and they didn't call to her like they used to. That's what we're creating with my new website. That's what I've been teaching for years, but I never kind of latched on to the idea of just focusing on binge eating here. So that's the kind of piece that we're looking for here, and that's what we can create. So I'll tell you a little bit about that here today. Okay. So what are the reasons that one thing actually, CE, I want to say something to you about this idea where you say, I just binged on sugar. I want to overcome this. You totally can. This is actually a pretty simple thing, believe it or not. We just haven't been really taught in the right way. Our society isn't set up to help people with this issue. But it's actually super, super simple. I usually give people about 3 or 4 different challenges to try at home. And by the end of those challenges, this is a thing of the past. It's crazy, actually, how quickly we can do this. So what are the reasons that we actually binge? I am going to bring up my screen here because then I can take some notes while I'm doing this and just show you guys kind of what's going on in my head here. Let me see if I can get this to work quickly and not look like a technical dummy here. I just didn't have it set up first, but I'll get this going real quick. Okay, so let me make sure that, there we go. Okay, so present my iPad right here. Well, that's not the one. Hold on, sorry guys. There we go. All right. So the one thing that I want to say to you, CE, first, and this was a really profound sentence for me when I first learned this about myself a few years ago. You do not actually have a problem with sugar or salty stuff or snacks or anything like that. So it's not a problem with sugar. And the thing is most people are coming to me thinking that they're a food addict or thinking that they have an uncontrollable affliction, right? And that's a lot just from the media, people telling us that addiction in this way is unfixable, that it's something, when people use the word disease, I challenge that. We're not going to get into all that, but what I'm trying to say here is that you don't actually have a problem with sugar or the foods. Now, we often blame those foods because they're very high calorie and lots of sugar, fat, and salt and things like that, and that makes a lot of sense. It's a logical conclusion. It's just not a correct one. The problem that we actually have is with the way that we deal with our emotions. So we actually have a problem with feeling our feelings. We actually have a problem with managing our emotions, and there's not really a lot of information out there about how to do this. Our parents certainly didn't know anything about it, and that's okay. It's not their fault, right? This stuff is just kind of becoming known, and how do we disseminate this information in a way that's going to be useful and easy for everyone? Well, that's my job, is to show you why you don't have a problem with sugar or salty things or whatever it might be, even alcohol, or these harder drugs, things like this. It's all kind of the same solution here. And I'm speaking from a place of experience with family and addiction and things like that, as well as my own food addiction, having been a binge eater for 22 years and now not having that issue anymore. So a lot of experience, and also creating this change for many people as private clients and group clients and stuff. So it seems this is a very simplified way of saying what the issue is. But then the solution is actually, how do we manage those emotions? And it's actually practical and emotional. And I'll tell you about that in a little bit. So we don't actually have a problem with sugar, CE. That's not actually the issue here. The problem is the way we manage that stuff on the inside. So the way we manage stress. So when we say stress snacking, now, sorry, it's hard to write and speak at the same time. So I always talk about this emotional spectrum. Okay. So we have our positive emotions on one end, we have our negative emotions on the other. Okay, that totally makes sense. And this is interesting. So CE says, I only binge on sugar. I eat healthy, nutritarian diet other than my binging on sugar. Absolutely. I totally understand that. And it actually doesn't matter which or whether it's both, what we binge on, because it's the same reason. Okay. Um, so we have this emotional spectrum here. So we have our positive emotions on this end, we got our negative emotions on this end. And then in here we have sort of our neutral emotions. I'm just going to actually put the word neutral there instead. What, baby? 4 towels? Okay, don't come here on camera, okay? Because I'm on a video right now. Okay, so we have our positive and negative. So positive, for instance, well, let's start with negative, because that's usually the easiest one for us to kind of, yeah, that's good. Okay, that's the easiest one for us to relate to. So stress, for instance. Do you need help, babe? Do you need help, hun? No? Okay. Maybe there's one in the closet here. Welcome. Or you could get that brown one.
Yeah, but it's kind of wet.
Oh, it's wet. Okay. Okay, so stress, anxiety, kids. Okay, hold on one sec, guys. I gotta go get a towel for my daughter. They're going to the pool. Okay, sorry about that. They're going out into the little kiddie pool, so they needed towels. Stress, anxiety, anger, even to an extent, depression. However, depression sometimes just is a chemical thing, and we can't just think our way out of that. So sometimes medication is important, but more of the light depressed phases, right? Anger, sadness, grief, etc. There's many of them, hundreds of them. So let's think about now the positive ones. So I always use like romantic love. Like, let's say you're in a new relationship, right? Or familial love, social pressure. What else? Lots of things like holidays, celebration in general, that emotion, right? So these are the kinds of things that can cause us to go off track food wise when it feels positive. Just anything like excitement, right? Lots of different things. Now, what's really interesting is this central section here, the neutral emotions. So, for instance, just craving, right? Like just pure craves. Okay, I don't know why that mutes sometimes. Sorry, guys. So it doesn't even necessarily mean that there's something going on in your life that caused stress or um, anything. It could just be like a random craving. For instance, say you just drive, I mean, you could even just have like a little tiny smell and it triggers something, maybe you smell something like a barbecue or whatever, but maybe you just have some quick memory of having eaten something, maybe you see it on TV or whatever. So there doesn't even have to be this big emotional reason that we end up eating. We could just have a craving. And cravings can come just based on pattern too. So if we've continually eaten certain things at a certain time of day, we've just learned that pattern now. The brain is such an amazing thing that it can learn anything, and it can learn anything at any age. So don't think that you're ever, too mature to be able to learn something new. The brain is so smart that it can learn the most complicated things, right? A new language, how to play the piano. It can learn so many different things, but there's this double-edged sword because it can also learn negative stuff, right? So uh, drinking too much soda or stopping at the fast food place. So every time I think of an action that I'm taking, nowadays it's something that I go, is this something that I want my brain to start learning? Right? And this example comes up a lot actually with my daughters because they're young. I have my twins just turned 4 the other day, and I have a 6-year-old as well. So I'm always thinking to myself, if we go to this place or we eat at this place as a treat or something out of the ordinary, or for instance, like their school, they don't really get the greatest food when it comes to parties and stuff like that, which is very typical around the US nowadays. And I remember last year at the end of the year, they were having an end of year party and they gave the parents a choice of what food we wanted to serve. But the choices were either McDonald's or Chick-fil-A. And I should have said something, and I will soon. I'm going to start speaking up about this kind of thing. But the idea was, so they asked that question, and I said, in my head, I was like, wait a minute, are parents really taking their kids to these places? I just couldn't believe it because it's such a out of the norm thing for us. We've just always avoided those things. And I realized, so they had the party, they ended up choosing Chick-fil-A. And my daughter now, every time she goes past a Chick-fil-A, she's like, Mommy, can we stop? And I'm like, whoa, that was fast. It was one meal, right? And her brain already learned this very high calorie source of food that it can get. And now it's really excited and stimulated about that. So the brain can learn negative stuff, it can learn positive stuff too. So it could be just simple craving or like an urge, desire, right? These are feelings. It could be just boredom, right? It doesn't have to be anything negative or positive necessarily. It could be this one is, I'm not sure if it's neutral or not, but this one comes up a lot with the rebellion thing, right? Maybe that's a negative one, I'm not sure, but or maybe it's positive because it's like confidence or something. But these so what I want to point out here first is that emotions don't have to fall into the box of negative, which most people think that it's all based on negative emotions, but it could be the positive emotions too, like social pressure. You're out for appetizers with the girls and they want to have some drinks and appetizers or whatever, and you want to have that social scene, but you also don't want them to make a big deal out of the fact that maybe you're not hungry or you're not eating or whatever, right? And then we just have these very neutral ones that don't have any specific cause, okay? So this is where stress snacking, emotional eating, overeating, compulsive eating, binge eating, this is where it comes from, right? And so if this is where this stuff comes from, then the answer has to be to understand how to manage the inside stuff too, okay? Now, I'm going to tell you very briefly what the program is that I have created. I'm changing the name of it. It used to be a weight loss program, and now it's going to be a stop binge eating program. I think I'm just going to call it stop binging system or method or something like that. If you guys have any ideas, let me know what you think, because it's just about how to stop binging, but you can lose weight with it as well. It was always a weight loss program before, and many people are losing weight and have lost weight from it. And so what is the answer to this? Now, I said the answer is internal, but it can't just be internal, right? It's also got to be some practical stuff. So the system that I've created, so for now, we'll call it Stop Binging System or Method. I don't know, SBM or SBS. SBS. I don't know. We'll see. I'm trying to figure out what to call it. But it's 3 steps. So the first step is this: plan and assess. Second step is about your hunger and assess. And the third step is about your feelings. So I'm going to call that one, we'll just call it feel and assess. I've gone through iterations of this program, but it's always been basically the same thing, these 3 things. And the podcast that I'm launching, this is going to start next week, is going to have a lot more in-depth information on this, as well as I have a new community that I'm going to be starting. It's on a platform called School, SKOOL. It's just going to be school.com/how to stop binge eating forever. Hold on, I'm going to sneeze. Excuse me. So that's the platform that we're going to be going on, and having community as well as coaching to help folks get through this stuff. Okay. And from there, you're going to be able to access my actual program, the actual videos that I've created. And I'm going to be talking about them on the podcast too. So you'll be able to get a really good, bigger overview of that coming up here when the podcast launches, I believe next Thursday. We'll see if I have time. Otherwise, it would be the very beginning of the next week. So let's just talk a little bit about this. So for instance, you're talking here, CE, about binging on sugar. Now the solution here, what I want to show you is that it has to be both a practical solution and an emotional solution. So these 2 steps of my system here are the practical ones. Like, what do you do in real life, And then this one is the emotional one. So this is the internal one. Now, when I do coaching for folks, I will be coaching on all 3 of these things to help someone understand the nuances of what I mean when I say plan, hunger, and feel. And also, what do I mean when I say assess? Most people, when they start my program, they go, I've heard some of this stuff before, but never in the way you say it. And the way that I say it is how we can actually stick to it, and we can stick to it for good. So I'll give you a brief overview. I'll be talking a lot more about this in the future. But for instance, planning. Okay, so what I mean by planning, and actually I was just having a conversation with a private client this morning, and we were talking about planning. She had had an off day yesterday, and then she was going to plan again today, and she was looking forward to it. So she says, hi, it's a new day, going to start with my plan, thanks. And I said, yeah, you got this. It's so fun to have a plan ahead of time. No need to think, you just follow. And she says, thanks, the plan is comforting. This is interesting. Why? Because planning could actually be comforting. What do I mean by that? So first of all, what do I mean by planning? I mean, plan your food ahead of time. And plan it in a realistic way. I've talked about this on lives before recently, but plan your food in a realistic way, meaning how are you eating right now? And then all you're going to do, and this sounds weird and like a waste of time, but it's really not. It is kind of everything. You're just going to plan exactly what you're eating now. Right? So if you're overeating on certain things, plan them for today. If you overate on them yesterday, plan them for today, right? That's it. Why would we do that? It sounds like a waste of time. Because if we actually plan what we have been binging on or what we have been overeating on, it takes away a little bit of the excitement of that binge. And when you actually plan it, there's a weird thing that happens where if you don't get that excitement about the binge because it's this big spontaneous thing, and now you're planning it. So for instance, I was on a coaching call with a woman yesterday, and we were talking about what to plan for this next set of days. And there's been a lot of binging in the last couple of weeks, and this woman believes that she's a strong binge eater and can't possibly stop. So the assignment that I gave to her for this next few days was to take exactly what she binged on the last 4 or 5 days, take an average of that, and just plan for that the next day. And we actually even got a lot more basic. And instead of having a very specific plan to stick to, because she was just a little nervous about that in the beginning, what I said was, all right, I just want you to plan to binge every night on purpose. Just plan it, right? So I don't care how much you eat or what you eat, just plan to really overeat the same way you usually do, and do that for 5 days. And then just during that 5 days, just sort of like look at what's happening. Like look at how you feel and how. Now, I know a lot of you maybe are watching this and going, that sounds scary. And that totally makes sense. But this is one of the things that's actually going to deliver us from the issues that we have. Okay. So, anyways, planning exactly what we're going to eat and how much of it we're going to eat, and planning realistically. So, like, if we go to Taco Bell 4 times a week, we're going to plan Taco Bell 4 times a week. There's no problem here because we're already eating that way. See? So, there's no problem with telling a client to binge on purpose because that client is already binging anyhow. So, nothing has changed. The only thing that's changed is we're actually planning to do it now. And that really changes a lot in your brain. Okay. So that's the first thing we talk about with planning. Now, how can planning be comforting? The problem, most people believe that planning is actually a drag, right? It's like, ugh, I don't want to have to plan my food. It's too much work. I want to be spontaneous. I want to have fun. Like we get more dopamine and excitement from not planning, right? And that's definitely true. I think there's some times that are great that we don't plan because it's nice to have fun sometimes when it comes to that stuff. But if we start planning what we're going to be eating, even if we're planning the fun stuff, it takes it from excitement land and turns it into ready-made decision land, right? We've already decided. And when we have decided ahead of time, exactly what my client was saying, which was it's comforting to have a plan. And I've seen this not just with her, but with many people and with most people who actually do my challenges, right? When I've run these 7, 14, 21-day challenges in the past of like nutritarian healthy eating, one of the things that calms down in the brain when you decide to do a challenge like this is like people always say, oh, I'm so glad you thought of everything for me for this next week. I don't have to think about anything. I don't have to think about what groceries, what I'm going to eat, anything like that. And that is one of the things that actually creates calm and peace in your head, right? Is actually having a plan. So it could be that not planning is fun and spontaneous and exciting. Yes, that could be true, but it could also be true that planning creates comfort and peace and calm. And they're both nice to have. So maybe sometimes we could practice planning and just making decisions ahead of time, right? So deciding to eat the things that we've been eating already. And then the best result out of this is that when you actually plan a binge or you plan a fun food or you plan things like this, you actually allow yourself to have it instead of having these, the reason people usually don't stick to their plan is because they're planning unrealistically. They're planning what that perfect version of themselves would be. And so people don't stick to it. And that's why they think that planning is such a drag. But planning can be fun if you actually plan in the stuff you're already eating. And then the best part about it is that over time, you will want to eat those fun foods a little bit less. We don't plan in order to get that result. It's just a natural byproduct of planning. Okay. So that's the first step there is just start planning a little bit. Plan in the morning, plan what you're going to eat. Just make a decision. You don't necessarily have to stick to it perfectly, but it's a great thing to do to really start to create some more calm in your brain. Okay. The next thing that we're talking about, which I'm not going to go into great detail here right now because I'm doing podcasts on all this stuff, but I'm about to record this podcast right after this call, so I need to keep my head fresh. But the second step here is about starting to learn about your hunger system. So our bodies come equipped. It's prepackaged. It's in the software that we are born with. A connection between our stomachs and our brains. Everyone has it. And there's no amount of metabolic damage that you could do that would make it so that you can't access that. Okay. So everyone has it. You can always go back to it. It's always there. And it doesn't even matter. I mean, I've heard people say things like, oh, well, I never know when I'm hungry, or I can never tell, or I'm always hungry, or this, that. Okay, fine. All we want to do is just start becoming more aware of our hungerness. That should be a word, hunger and satiety, right? So how much food we need or when are we finished? And that's the second step that's really important. And I always say to people too, like if you even scrap this entire 3-step system method thing and you just do the second one, it's enough. It's enough to lose weight. It's enough to start to calm your brain. And actually, I think the planning is really important for stopping binge eating. But the hunger part can be so useful to get us to a point where, so for instance, the idea here being that if you take another spectrum of the hungriest you've ever been or the fullest you've ever been, we don't want to get to those points anymore. Okay. Yeah, honey bear, what about eating while you are full? I'll explain that in 1 second. So, we don't want to get to those places anymore, the hungriest or the fullest. We want to stay somewhere in the nice, calm, cozy middle. So, I always call this maybe like we say a hunger scale is +10, -10. So, +10 is past Thanksgiving full. It's like your stomach is literally physically exploding. And then -10 would be dying of hunger, actual physically dying of hunger, right? So the middle there, and I like around the -4 to +4, is like a comfortable hunger where you don't get too hungry and then you eat, and then a comfortable fullness where it doesn't hurt at all, and then you stop. Okay, so that's kind of the idea here with the hunger, is just staying in that range of comfortably hungry, comfortably full. And that requires, if we haven't been doing that for a long time, that requires some changes. So, for instance, if you're going to be somewhere and you're not going to be able to eat and you're already starting to be a little bit hungry, you need to eat before you go to the thing, right? Or this is such a good question here, Honey Bear. So, what about eating while you are full? So if you can give me some more details there, I'm happy to keep going, but I'll just say the things that come to my mind when you say that. So eating while you are full, it's a thing that we've been doing for a long time, right? Eating when we're full. And specifically in my past, I recall always going to restaurants and binging before I went to, like, I knew I was going to a restaurant, but I would binge right before for whatever reason, because I felt like I just couldn't stop. And I was like psyching myself out. I knew I was going to the restaurant, but I was like, I can't not binge. And it was just this weird thing. So whenever I would go to the restaurant, I would be full already. And then I would start binging at the restaurant too. And I would come home just, in so much pain. And oftentimes, at least once a month, I would involuntarily throw up all the food in the middle of the night because it was just way too much junk. So, eating when full is just a learned pattern, like we've talked about before in the beginning of this call, right? It's just a learned pattern. And as I said earlier, the good news about learned patterns like this is we can unlearn them. Like, we don't want to learn these patterns if we can avoid it, but the good news is that we can always unlearn them. We can always de-strengthen and destabilize those neural pathways. So you think of a neural pathway in your head like when you first learned to brush your teeth, you had no idea how to do it. It was a really foreign thing. Your parents had to remind you how to do it every day until, 6 months later or something, it becomes something that you really understand and you've done it so many times. And then it flips to where instead of it being weird, now it would be weird to not do it. That type of learning and unlearning is available at any time to us. Okay. So, eating when full is just a learned behavior, and we can learn to do the opposite. So, all we do here, Honey Bear, is we try to look at this hunger scale. We go, all right, if this is the hunger scale, we got +10, we got -10, and we just kind of want to stay here, right? So, this would be 0. We just want to stay in this range here. So, the thing that we first start to do is learn what our satiety signals are and learn what our hunger signals are, because we just get so out of touch with what that is. And then some people are grazing all day, so they never really feel hunger, and then they'll just keep eating, and that's fine. That's a fine place to start. It's not a problem. And we can work through that kind of stuff. So the first thing that we do is we just start with these small shifts, right? Little baby shifts. First thing that we do is we just start like questioning, what is it like to be here at a +4, right? Or what is it like to be here at a -4 when we're really, really hungry? Or what is it like to be at a -7 or a -8 when we're pretty starved, right? Or what's it like to be Thanksgiving full, 7 +8 +9, that kind of a thing, when it really, really, really hurts? What is it like to feel the difference between these two? So the difference between comfortably full and way too full, what's that like for you? And when you eat, so then it's like you start to become aware of when you're eating, when is that moment occurring? You don't have to change anything yet. The first step is to just start noticing and just start like looking at it and seeing when is the moment where I'm starting to get full. You don't have to stop yet, right? Keep going. Just keep eating the same way you do, but just start to kind of become aware and be like, when is that moment, right? We don't have to be perfect Zen meditators and mindful eaters and all that kind of stuff. You don't have to be perfect in order for this to work. Just even a little bit of focus is going to be more than you had before, and that's a positive. Okay. So I would leave you with that. If you did want to start trying that, for instance, Honey Bear, just looking at the idea of when am I full? Like, just when is that? Right. And then there's some work that we can do after that, which as a binge eater was hard for me to do because the next work is something like actually caring about when your stomach hurts. And the planning step helps that because I never actually cared if it hurt. I never actually cared about the throwing up part. I always just thought it was who I was and that's it, you know. Um, so we work on that, and we're just the whole time, each time we're assessing. So I want to say that assessment is such a boring word on purpose, right? So we want to plan, we want to have our day, we want to see what happened, and then we want to assess what happened the next day in a very cursory way, just like, oh, what happened there? Why did I not stick to it? Or what could I have planned? How could I have planned it more realistically so that I would have stuck to it more? Okay. Let me know in the comment section if this is resonating with y'all. How are you thinking about this stuff? Is it helpful for you? Let me know what you're thinking in the comment section. Okay, and then we'll move to the last step of the system here, which is to feel. Like there's no way I could possibly get through this today. This is way too much of a topic to get through, but you've seen me coaching before, potentially on my channels, about um, how our thoughts and feelings are connected and how we can actually work through those things. That's too much of a topic for today. But the idea here is to actually feel those feelings. So when we talked about this section of the kind of emotional spectrum here, when we're feeling this stuff, oftentimes we're used to trying to push it away and make it go away. Right? We just want that feeling to go away. We want to feel better. And so we can do that with alcohol. We can do that with TV. We can do it with social media. We just want to make those things go away. We can do it with food, obviously, right? And we get so used to doing that with food. So, what is the solution? Well, it's the emotional solution, which is to learn how to manage those feelings and how to let them be there, how to actually just feel them. So, like if you got a cut, it would be like, obviously it's not a cut that's going to send you to the hospital. If you got just a regular cut or like a paper cut or something, right? The paper cut's going to be there and you can't stop it, and you're going to have pain about it unless you put some type of a, topical thing on it. But it would be like just kind of looking at that cut and going, that hurts. I don't like that. Right? That's what feeling a feeling is, oh yeah, there's a paper cut. We don't like that. It's not trying to put the topical stuff on it to make that feeling go away, or pretending like it didn't happen, or cutting your other hand so that this one doesn't hurt, right? That's how we actually feel a feeling. And so there's a technique that I teach called allowing urges, and it's the idea that we just like let that craving be there. And what if cravings actually don't kill us? What if cravings are okay? What if they're uncomfortable? But what if we can get through them just fine? That's kind of the rundown here. And then it's like, okay, once we're learning how to feel these things better, assessing how well are we doing at it, is there things that we can improve on? Another thing that we work on is how to feel, for instance, when, say we have anxiety about something. One of the biggest things that I do with folks is help them understand the perspective on their situation, to make things that make them feel anxious not so anxiety causing. And coaching people through that and helping them understand how that's connected in their brain is really the aim of what we do. So how can our feelings have nothing to do with food? How can our real life have nothing to do with our food, and sort of separating those two permanently and long term, so that when you come across something bad in your life or something that feels horrible, how can you not binge about it or not overeat about it. That's one of the most important things. Okay. So that's basically what we do. To answer your question in a very long-winded way, CE, is how do we actually overcome this? This is all we need. It's all we need. We just practice, 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 and you get coached. And I help you understand how to deal with the nuance and things like that. Okay. That's it for today. Do you guys have any questions? Let me know if you have any questions left. I'm going to take off in just a minute here. I want to just mention that coming very soon, as I said, so the new website, and you'll see my Facebook page has changed to this now too. And I'm going to change the group, my high nutrient lifestyle group as well. Now, just so you guys know, if you are nutritarian and you love nutritarian stuff, great. We can still be talking about that as well. But this is going to be more towards binge eating at this point. And there's always going to be recipes and stuff involved. How to stop binge eating forever. And this is going to be on .com, obviously. So my YouTube channel is going to be called that. The Facebook page is going to be called that. So that'll be live in about a week or two. And then the podcast is going to go live, and I'll be posting every Thursday. Hopefully we'll find some good social media that we can use out of those posts as well, and be posting on social, Instagram, YouTube, Facebook. And then, as I said, I'm going to have a group on school.com, which it's kind of like Facebook a little. It's way simpler to use. And it's just about this content. You'll be able to join my school group. There's going to be a community as well as a coaching group. So you can get all the support that you need. Okay, so keep an eye out. I didn't get many comments, so that's why I'm not saying anything else from y'all, but that's okay. Y'all are a little quiet today, no problem. That's all I have for you today. I hope that you enjoyed this one, and stay on the lookout. If y'all want to get on my email list so you can get more information. Let's see if I have a thing that I can put up here. I'm just going to make a banner real quick so you can see right now where you can go. nourishyourlifestyle.com/email-newsletter. You can go there. That's the current website, nourishyourlifestyle.com/email-newsletter. And as I said, within a week or two, we're going to be changing things up and going to the binge eating content. So I hope you guys enjoyed that. And I'm around if you need me. And I'm going to try to do these lives once a week. So hopefully we'll see you next week. Have a good day. Bye.